Sara Riff, welcome to Pretty Smart, and thank you for coming. So you grew up in Los Angeles, and I always call you all unicorns because there's not very many of you. Do you feel like a California girl?
I 100% feel like a California girl.
Yeah.
I grew up on the beach, so I think in terms of what people would stereotype as someone from California, I definitely had that upbringing.
But when you grow up in the Midwest, you just think LA is so far away. But in Laguna, you're like an hour from Hollywood. Did you always want to be in entertainment?
I think growing up, when I got a little older and I could drive and I could take the trip into LA, it felt far away for me too.
Yeah.
I grew up in a really small beach town, and through the exploitation of things like Bravo and the Housewives, and we've seen Housewives of Orange County, that portrays a very different picture than the Laguna that I grew up in, which was like one of the original artist colonies. It was really, even though...
Really?
Yeah, it's such a cool community. It's very small. Yeah. It has certainly attracted a certain personality, more recently. But when I grew up in Laguna, it was like board shorts and surfing and bare feet and, and beach bums in a really cool way, which I think probably inform a lot of my kind of laid back personality.
What would you consider your style? Is it laid back at all?
Okay, do you mean aesthetic style?
Yeah.
So this is interesting because I recently had a friend, meaning my management style, my, relationship style, my parenting style, but in terms of how I would put myself together style.
Yeah.
I mean, during COVID, I said it was a lot of business on top, tired mom on the bottom, below where you couldn't see. But I have been actually working on this a little bit because I have a friend who's been, helping me clean out my closet. I've been following this girl, Allison Bornstein.
Yep.
Do you know who this is?
Oh, yeah.
So she's all about identifying your 3 words. And I gave it a lot of thought, and mine is sexy, rich, Italian.
Whew, those are good words.
I'm not Italian.
You need to summer in Capri.
Well, I do, girl. But, I'm not Italian. I like to think I'm sexy, and I'm rich is relative, right? I'm rich in my mind. I'm rich with love and
rich in spirit.
I'm rich in spirit. But yeah, sexy rich Italian is my undercurrent.
So did you love the latest season of?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but actually, Mike White is a friend of mine. I know what we're talking about, White Lotus, right?
Yeah.
So that's Sicily, where I've been going for the last couple of years, and I'm going back this year. And my only complaint is that, it's like anything that you love, the more and more it gets discovered by everybody, then it starts to feel a little bit.
Well, the problem is you post on Instagram and you make it look so good. And then everyone follows you because you're a tastemaker.
But I can hardly say that Italy is like an untapped secret.
Right.
That's true. I am one of the cheesers that also ends up there over the summer.
Well, I think now that you have these 3 words, I'm curious to see what your lens is while you're there, if it changes at all.
Well, it's actually really helpful, the idea of it. And actually my friend who helped me with my closet, she, when I will make purchases, she will say, think about your 3 words. Do these things fit with that? Because sometimes we all fall victim to Instagram shopping or buying into trends. And then if I look and I'm like, would a sexy, rich Italian
wear this?
Bish wear this? If not, I got to throw it back,
Wait, that is so good because there can be things that you think are cute that are not for you. Right?
In closet and in life, my friend. Yes.
Right.
Of course.
I actually find that a lot of fashion advice applies to life.
I think what's difficult is because we have become really super homogenized, right? And style, when it's really unique individual style, should not be replicating every other girl that you see,
Instagram changed that.
Yeah, and so it's I was in a coffee shop the other day and I saw a girl and she was in the bike shorts with the white socks and the cool dad sneakers and the cap, and she looked like she was just sort of walking out of an Instagram with a matcha or something. And I thought, what a weird time that we're living in. You know, like, first of all, my husband like still makes fun of me because I can't wear high socks, like, and I call sneakers tennis shoes. So I'm like I'm not cool enough to do that. But I think it's sort of.
But you're cool enough to be a hot, rich Italian woman.
Well, a hot, rich, you know, I didn't say hot, I said a sexy, rich
Oh,
Italian.
sexy.
You know, so a sexy, rich Italian, yeah, she goes her own way.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So you said that you were lucky to land your dream job very early, and you've been with Jimmy Choo for 16 years.
I know. I hate saying that because I feel like it ages me.
No.
You know? But I like
so
to think
rare.
that I got it as an internship.
You did?
No, but let's say that I did,
Oh.
you know? Kind of, it was like one of those high school internships that just turned into something, you know?
Well, I think...
Danielle, I can't lie to you. I did not start there in high school, but...
Oh, well, you actually got me.
Yeah.
But I think it's so rare nowadays because people sometimes switch jobs after 8 months.
They do.
I was just watching Simon Sinek talk about how he doesn't hire people who change jobs all the time, and I thought, what an old way of thinking. And then he said something interesting. He said, I don't pay people that have been at my company for 10 years because they can weather good storms and have easy sales, he said, because somebody who just started can also probably do the same work and weather easy sales. It's when things get hard and you hit a storm that I pay people that have been at my company for 10 years way more than the person who just started.
Is he hiring?
Yeah, right.
No, just kidding. Well, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I think to every level of what you discussed. I think that probably for any of your younger listeners, I think that I'm a little bit like, I like to think of myself as elder millennial. Like I straddle the line of, you know, the way that I was brought up was in a different time, you know? So there was a lot less movement. It was, you know, it really was with a lot more longevity in mind. Also, like you said, it was something when I didn't work up to hoping to land where I am. Luckily, I landed there early, and I never felt the need to hop around either to establish my worth or to chase something that I didn't find where I was. And that's sort of like, you know, another like in life, in your closet, in your work too. But the culture's different now, you know, so no judgment for people who hop around. Just found something that really worked for me on a lot of levels, and I feel really lucky because I'm very immersed in a brand that I truly believe in. So I don't need to, you know, go elsewhere to find that.
When you call it your dream job, what makes it a dream job?
I think what makes it a dream job is that I feel so many parts of myself activated there. You know, I don't feel like I have to clock in and clock out and pursue my personal pursuits on the side. I think it feels very reflective of who I am authentically, which I think, you know, makes it a dream job. I think there's so many people who, you know, have to kind of turn on their authentic selves, you know, kind of off hours. And I don't feel that in a really great way. Listen, nothing's perfect. There's, you know, there's certainly like, there are very unglamorous elements of the job, just like with anything that you do. I think no matter what you're doing, like the pursuit of it consistently and at a certain level will always create situations that are, like you said, harder storms to weather, but more rewarding in the end.
As you reflect on 16 years, do you feel proud of the storms that you weathered?
I do. I feel really proud of so many of the things I think that I've been able to accomplish there. My own big growth points, you know, I think just in terms of how I'm able to weather storms, how I'm able to take criticism, how I'm able to negotiate, how I'm able to, you know, have certain harder conversations and just kind of cross the tough things off the list first.
Yeah.
I have a lot of pride for that.
I was listening to a podcast and this guy said, you are a handful of relationships away from your dream job. And your job is so relational. You're so good at it too, it seems. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Andrew Yang, who was hosting the podcast, said, the thing about that is that I only know people because I've done things. I don't do things because I know people. Like, he had immigrant parents. He started from the bottom, so to speak, right? What is your take on that?
When I decided to pursue what I was pursuing in fashion, I had no foot in the door.
Yeah.
I had no leg up. I had no relationships. So I feel that I relate to both parts of what he said. Now, at my stage of life with my position, there are a lot of cool things that I do because I know great people. I feel like I've been able to meet all those people because I've consistently done things to prove myself, to create relationships, to open doors. So I think it works both ways, you know?
I think you're right.
I think it does. I mean, I think that, like, you know, I don't feel that anything that I'm doing because of people I know has been not earned, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Completely. I just was wondering, like, how, I remember graduating college and thinking, like, how the hell am I ever going to meet anybody?
Right.
And my tactic, I used to send people, like, cookies or bamboo plants because no one would reply to my emails.
Good tactic.
What did you do?
Oh, well, I do have a funny story about this. And this was a good learning point. As I remember early days, I had actually interviewed for a magazine job, and it was in ad sales, which, you know, in retrospect, I wouldn't have liked that anyways. I think even though it was an ad sales, in my mind, it was an editorial. I'm not really sure what was going on, but I was just obviously trying to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I was excited to hear. And I remember seeing my phone light up and saying Condé Nast. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. They're calling to offer me the job. And the woman was like, hi, you know, I just want to check in with you after our interview. And I wanted to let you know I really enjoyed meeting you. And I'm like, you know, imagining all my outfits for my new job and my title and the whole thing. And I was like, yes. And she was like, but I'm not hiring you. And I was like, okay. And she was like, and I want to let you know why. And I was like, okay, please do. And she told me, and now this is funny, like, now that I think about this, like 100 years later, but she was like, you know, you sent me an email to follow up with our interview. And the other candidate that I decided to go with sent me a handwritten note. Now, you could take this one of two ways, right? You could say, like, well, this woman was being very particular, but I kind of thought that by virtue of the fact that she called me, you know, I really felt that that was helpful feedback. You know, I think oftentimes we don't get feedback, so that could be like with friends of mine who've been ghosted after like great dates, or, you know, a relationship that went wrong, or a negotiation that doesn't work out.
That's true.
And you don't often get, you know, the opportunity to hear from someone as to why.
The why.
This is a very minimal example of, like, you know, like an entry level job, but I really like took that to heart. And, you know, when you say that you were sending cookies or bamboo plants, like, there's something about putting in the extra effort and also making yourself memorable. I'm in the process of hiring right now, and it's interesting going through interviews and seeing resumes and seeing all the things that people do to make themselves stand out. And I think that that's a really good lesson to learn too.
Is there anything that anybody's done that really felt memorable to you?
Not as memorable as cookies. I haven't gotten any good deliveries. If anyone's watching, you know, please, I love a cookie.
I love that. So your title is Global Director of Entertainment Relations. What a cool title, first of all.
Thank you.
Global. I don't know many people with the word global in their title.
It really goes back to those three words, you know, that's where the Italian comes in. No, just kidding.
What is the most exciting aspect of your job? Because I think when people hear your title, they start dreaming or daydreaming.
There's so many exciting elements to it. I think being able to work with all these incredible image makers has been really impactful. I think watching, you know, the product that's dreamt up come to life, and, you know, whether that's on like the global runway, which is the red carpet, or seeing how it's interpreted in street style. I think watching how much joy it brings people is really great. I think that's one of the things is when you say Jimmy Choo, it does just elevate spirit a little bit because people think about that undeniable sensation that you have, like that every woman can pretty much relate to when you step into a pair of shoes and you just like look at yourself a certain way. You walk taller, you feel elevated, you feel empowered. You know, you don't have to like feel any sort of way if your pants are feeling tight that day or something else doesn't fit well. Like, I think that that's why women love shoes so much is that they're just that kind of like instant mood lift. And, you know, and really that's across the globe, I think, for women. I think that that's one of those connectors. People feel passionate about fashion and accessories and beauty and shoes. And so that's really, you know, a fun kind of connective tissue that I think we all have.
I think so too. There's this phrase that good shoes take you places that I've always thought about. I remember when I got my first real job, that's what I bought myself, was a pair of shoes. Do you remember your first pair?
Of Jimmy Choo's?
Or of shoe, like a designer shoe or a nice shoe that you bought?
Yes, of course I do, because, you know, obviously, like, we can all speak to how much the price of things have, you know, have increased. But I remember specifically there was a pair of shoes that I really had my eye on, and there was like a shop in New York and I was visiting, and I went and I put them on hold. I thought about it for a few days and I went back and I had to like split it on credit cards, you know, split this pair, like basically buy the right with one credit card and the left with another credit card. And I just remember it's like that feeling of getting the box and opening them up and putting them on. It really is transformative.
It is. There's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's probably, you probably know in your profession how to.
It's ephemeral. I think that there's something that's like, you know, I really think for even, you know, there's a lot of little girls who, it's funny how you notice when they dress up. And, you know, I have a daughter, like this kind of instinctual kind of tendency to step up on your toes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you ever try things on and you don't have shoes with you and you like step on your toes. It's like there's something about, you know, elevating both your like physical self and your spirit that gives way to this other version of yourself. I think that that's what's, you know, really empowering and impactful about fashion. It's like, to me, look, at the end of the day, my job is certainly not curing cancer. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I wrestle with that. Like, I'm like, is this impactful enough, you know, what I'm doing? And is this mean anything? And really, you know, I always come back to the sense of like, there is something about the escape that comes with beauty and art and fashion that really is transformative. And I think it takes people out of, you know, the mundane and darkness and whatever you're feeling. And it just lifts you momentarily to imagine something else. Like, imagine yourself being somebody more courageous, or your life being more glamorous. And I think shoes are almost like that portal. You know what I mean? It's, you really step into being who you want to be.
It's who you are when you step into the shoes.
Yes.
For people who aren't familiar with what Global Director of Entertainment Relations means, how do you describe your job?
It does sound a little bit like someone who works on a cruise ship, you know?
No, it doesn't.
But okay, so, you know, in terms of the brand, I think that for celebrity relations, entertainment relations, it really is like, you know, everything to do with all of the VIP dressing. It's making sure that Jimmy Choo is presented in every important fitting that's happening for every important event. You know, so like you said, we're coming in after the Met Gala, making sure that everyone who is going to be stepping out onto the red carpet, who is a Target right, you know, ambassador for the brand, has the best and the latest to look at for options for their events. It's making sure that we are represented, you know, whether that's in product placement, film and television, whether there are festivals that we should be participating in, events that we should be participating in, you know, influencers. It really runs the gamut because the landscape of that has changed so much. When I started, there was a handful of events during a month. There was like 10 long lead magazines, 4 weekly publications, and that was really where people started to consume, kind of the celebrity culture and celebrity dressing as it would impact how people chose to dress themselves. Flash forward to now, I would argue that people are just as inspired by seeing their favorite personality, their favorite celebrity, their favorite influencer wearing things as they are seeing something worn by a model in a magazine, if not more.
I think more.
And I think that really shifted, once I attribute a lot to when, Catherine and Hillary started Who What Wear, and we started to look at not just, okay, what was the gossip surrounding people being out at night, but what were they wearing, and it has really fueled this insatiable appetite for, how we consume fashion, especially as retail has changed so much. I don't know how often you're in a store shopping anymore. It's almost like you shop through your feed, you shop through various celebrities at events, you shop through influencers on Instagram, you're shopping through TikTok. So it's really making sure that the brand is very well represented with all of those key tastemakers so that it is able to have that impact.
I have a friend whose husband is a club promoter. And
that's helpful.
It is helpful, but he was like, his job is almost done because he was like, back in the day, people would come to clubs to see what everyone was wearing. And now it's all on your phone. So you're right, everything has shifted, I think. I want you to, if you can, to try and put your humility aside for a second and just brag. What is a skill set that you have learned over the years that you feel like would be really hard to replace?
One thing that I feel very confident about in the way that I handle things is being able to deal with things head on, difficult situations, difficult conversations, difficult negotiations, and emerge in a real positive fashion. I think treating things with a great sense of humor and also trying to see both sides, in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish and what the other party's trying to accomplish, and finding a middle ground so that we can both emerge feeling happy and like we got what we wanted. I think is a great life and professional skill.
You mentioned image makers.
Yes.
And I'm so fascinated by the way that people in the fashion world think about fashion, because I think everybody else kind of thinks of it as style. And I interviewed Carla Welch a few weeks ago.
I love Carla.
I know you guys are friends. And the way she conceptualizes brand and image is so different. How do you think about it?
I think what's become incredibly powerful and what's really fun to be a part of is that we have all become our own brands, right? So for better or for worse, image is brand. What was it? Oh, it was like a Jay Shetty thing that I was listening to. And I don't know if he was attributing this quote to himself or someone else, but he said, "I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I'm who I think you think I am." And I think that really speaks to brand and image insofar as, as everything has exploded and we have more and more content and we have more and more content creators in every spectrum, in terms of really carving out your own brand and a really powerful image as a calling card, I think fashion is a huge tool that can be used for that. I think it's about creating an image that people are intrigued by and that stands out from, not to say that so many people are doing the same thing, but there are a lot of people doing very similar things, and I think creating a brand and creating an image is a very important way to set yourself apart. And I don't know what Carla said, but I think, she could speak to, obviously, even with a lot of the talent that she dresses in terms of acting, I would imagine that their stock goes up quite a bit based on, are they considered, a fashion icon? Are they considered to be at the front of that conversation when it comes to who people want to dress, who people want to work with? And there's a desirability factor that she gets to play a huge role in.
I think it extends beyond entertainment, though, and that to me is something that Jimmy Choo does so well. Is it gives everyone access to that feeling, that look, whatever it is that you're desiring. And I think if you're an accountant or an attorney, whatever it is, like, it's still important to have your own brand nowadays.
It is.
People think of, like, are you the person that always wears suits? Are you the one, I always wear a red lip for Pretty Smart. Like, what is your thing?
And I love that you do that. And that's interesting. I was talking about a friend who was coming back from some time living in London today. And one thing he said that he was enjoying there was that everyone there is a lot less image focused.
That's
true. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I have a 10-year-old daughter, so I really try to be focused on, obviously, so much kind of beyond just our image that we project, because we can all get a little bit too wrapped up into it. I think we live in a time, especially with social media, where everyone is so consumed by, again, like that Jay Shetty quote, how we think other people perceive us.
Right.
And I think we could also benefit from putting in the work on things that don't necessarily impact how we look on the outside. You know what I mean?
I mean, you're speaking to the ethos of the podcast, right? Like, pretty bold, pretty witty, pretty stuff. So I totally hear you. I guess I moved here and I didn't realize that I could reflect how I felt on the inside on the outside.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
No, I think that that's a very powerful tool for sure. I think, you saying that you wear a red lip, so maybe that's something that makes you feel particularly confident, and like we were talking about with fashion acting as an armor, or with shoes almost like providing a portal to the person that we want to embody, or our own Sasha Fierce, or it's like you're in sweats at home and, you step into the shoes and suddenly you do feel elevated. I think that is a really powerful tool to, to dress according to how you perceive yourself and who you want to be sometimes, even in the kind of fake it till you make it ethos.
Did having a daughter change the way you looked at the world?
Of course. And I think it also changes the way that I look and speak to myself, because I'm on notice. My daughter is like very, she's going to be exposed to a million things that I wasn't exposed to at her age. She already has like a little beauty fridge, and she's very into doing her skincare, which I didn't really know about those things at that time. But it's really important, I think, in how we speak to ourselves. And it took me having a daughter who really listens and absorbs everything that I say. And, it's one of those things where people say, like, kids don't do what they say, they do what you do. If I look at myself and I think, ugh, I hate the way my legs look today, or I hate the way my hair is falling, if I say those things out loud, I think it puts something in her mind that, we can be unkind to ourselves, or that, our worth is really wrapped up in the way that we look on the outside.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect at this by any stretch, but I really do try to catch myself if I'm going like, I got a real muffin top in this, or whatever, because I don't want her to look at her body and have those same sensations, And so it really it did change certain things for me.
It sounds like it healed something in you in some way.
Like, it appreciates me when I see certain things of myself in her, when I think like, I love the way her hair falls like this and it's similar to my hair, or, she has big brown eyes, and things where I do maybe have a little bit more affection for those things about myself now. Yes.
So you are a founding member of I Am a Voter,
yes,
which is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to creating a cultural shift around voting and civic engagement. I remember when this launched, and I was so excited because there had been nothing since Rock the Vote that had garnered people's attention the way this did. Why did you jump on this opportunity?
Well, I think, first of all, Mandana Dayani, who I don't know if you've spoken with or not, she's such a powerhouse, and she reached out to a group of us who she felt were a good, strong group of women who, whether they were marketing films or fashion or television, throughout the entertainment space, who could really use those skills to have impact on increasing civic engagement. And I think the important thing with it being nonpartisan was that it was about trying to shift the narrative around apathy. And I think what sometimes happens, people start to feel deflated and they feel that they can't make impact. And so what was so exciting about this was just about saying, listen, we're not going to tell you what to do when you get there, but you have to understand that to be a part of a working democracy, like, we need everyone's participation. And I think it can feel disheartening. It can feel like you can't make an impact. And I think one thing that I have felt without doubt through our work with I Am a Voter is that we have the analytics, we have the data to see, the lift of people getting involved and what that changes. And I think it's been such a fun part of, something that I've been able to do in the last couple of years, working with women who I'm totally inspired by, who all really kill it in their respective fields, who are putting their attention at trying to make a difference, in something that, whether, the issues that I feel passionate about are the same as yours or not, we can each agree that without participation and without, passionate involvement, we can't make a difference. And so that's been really fun and really rewarding to be a part of.
Do you feel like brands have to take a stand nowadays?
I think brands need to do what feels authentic to them. Absolutely. I think everyone who has a platform has an opportunity to take a stand. I think it's about making sure that you're doing it in a way that doesn't feel performative and that feels like it can actually be impactful and authentic to what your brand stands for. I think that there's times in the year where a lot of different brands say things and it can feel a little bit like a marketing ploy.
Yeah.
And I think it's for each brand to hone in on what their particular values are and where they can use that to perhaps give an uplift to a cause that they feel really passionate about.
So you got a lot of celebrity support for the organization. Sophia Bush, who I really like, said, of anything I've ever done in my life that I could possibly be proud of, this matters most to me, which I thought was a big statement because she's involved in a lot of organizations.
Yeah, she is.
What are some of the people that you've leaned into to spread the word?
I mean, I think that we've leaned into so many people and we've had so much impact. And it's interesting to see, again, there's unfortunately just as much apathy, for people who are further along in their lives as there is for, some people who are just being able to legally vote.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of celebrity impact, it really is important to look at who you're reaching, So it's like the person who might appeal to someone who is turning 18 is not the same person who might appeal to someone who's well into their 50s and for whatever reason has given up on it or doesn't feel inspired to participate. So the long answer of that, or the short answer of that really is, I think it's specific, but there have been so many incredible celebrities who have supported what we're doing with I Am a Voter.
You addressed First Lady Dr. Jill Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, and then Jennifer Lopez and Katy Perry for the inauguration. That was huge.
That's where I really felt like a worlds colliding moment, with what I do professionally with Jimmy Choo, and then obviously all of our participation with I Am a Voter. That for me personally and my political views was a big, exciting day.
Yeah.
And
tell me about that moment.
It was, first of all, being able to work with the First Lady, getting swatches of the outfits that she was going to be wearing, Kamala Harris, same thing, to feel like even on that small level, on the day that those women literally stepped into those positions
Whew.
in front of the world watching, to have them step into a brand that I have felt passionate about and inspired by for so long, felt like a tremendous kind of kismet moment of everything kind of coming together and working, in collective
Yeah.
purpose. It felt really beautiful. So not only were those women who, were stepping into those political positions wearing the brand, but then Jennifer Lopez, who obviously, like, I'm a J-Lo girl forever, and Katy Perry, when she was singing, I think she's singing Firework that night with all the fireworks. And it was just like an overwhelmingly, for me, again, powerful, beautiful moment to watch. And having them all wear Jimmy Choo was incredibly symbolic.
I think it says so much that at that moment, all 4 of them were wearing Jimmy Choo.
It really, cool. Yes, it was a beautiful, beautiful moment.
So your podcast is called Having It All and Other Lies.
Yes.
I love the title so much.
Thank you.
Do you think having it all is a lie?
I don't think having it all is a lie. I think what I wanted to accomplish with the podcast was redefining what having it all looks like. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's very subjective and very individual. Yeah. And I think when we look outwards to what it means to have it all, we can leave feeling like we came up short, And I think it was really about talking to women who ostensibly look from the outside like they have it all, and talking to them about ways in which, they too share that feeling of feeling like they come up short, or, they're killing it in one area, but they're really getting killed someplace else. And to hopefully step away for every woman to feel that she could be a little bit kinder to herself, that we need to get our expectations in check, and that everything ebbs and flows, that there's times where your career is really taking the front seat, and your relationships or your family or, your health may not be flourishing in the way that you want. But it's not necessarily possible for every kind of element of your life to feel like it is in total flow all of the time. And I think that my goal, again, was to showcase women who might sit in those seats of, aspiration for a lot of other people, and have them destigmatize and demystify the idea of
pulling that veil down.
Yeah, of really being honest, like allowing you in behind the scenes and telling you no one has it all figured out. We're all doing our best, and here are some like tips and tools of what I, do try to do, but really to redefine,
well,
and reframe.
In it, you say you want to redefine success and happiness and what that feels like and looks like. Do we put too much stock in happy? I've just been thinking maybe there's a better focus.
Right. What would that be? Contentment?
I think maybe it's different. Like, for me, it feels like purpose. But I think that word can change.
I think, it depends on where you fall with this, right?
Yeah.
There's some people who think, no matter what the circumstances are, I choose to focus on the happy. One way that I might frame that differently is to focus on presence and gratitude, right? So I'm not always going to be happy, like period, the end. It's just not possible. And I think that that's important to realize in every aspect of your life. And it's important as a parent also to inform your kids. It's like, well, this isn't making me happy. It's like, well, a lot of things are not going to make you happy,
Yeah.
But I think that, again, there is a lot of inner focus that's happening with that versus I like what you're saying about purpose, which is reframing it, because I have never found that when I am being purposeful in my intent, that I don't feel some sort of inner sense of satisfaction, an inner sense of gratitude, and, like, dare I say, an increased happiness from doing that,
Okay, we have some rapid fire.
Tell me.
What is the difference between fashion and style?
I think fashion is evolving, style is forever.
A style philosophy that you live by?
More is more. Yes.
If you could only wear one pair of heels for the rest of your life, which pair are you picking?
Classic Jimmy Choo Romy pump.
I
Like a
think
black pump, yes.
my Jimmy Choo
Oh
pump.
my God, girl,
As
yes.
this falls. Oops. Hold
Yes,
up.
1,000%. She will never let you down.
I've had her for years.
She will
They're my most
never
comfortable.
let you down.
Okay, the best style investment piece that isn't a Jimmy Choo.
Confidence.
That's great. A celeb's closet that you'd like to raid.
Rosie Huntington-Whiteley.
That's an interesting choice. You kind of look like her.
Oh my, I mean, Daniel, I'm already here. You don't need to butter me
No,
up.
but you do.
That's very kind.
A piece of relationship advice that you picked up along the way.
Relationship advice. You know, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
A book that changed your life, something that you think everybody should read.
The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
You stumped me.
I love that book.
I have to get it. Okay, if you can grab the Pretty Smart card deck. There's 52 questions in there, so whichever one you feel drawn to is yours.
Okay, this is like tarot.
Yeah.
Which temptation do you try the hardest to resist? Perfectionism.
That's a good one.
You know, I try to resist the lens of wanting everything to be the way I want it to be. And one of my goals is really to accept the way things are and try to make the best situation and outcome from that.
What is the smartest decision you've ever made?
Having kids.
Really? Did you weren't sure you wanted them?
No, I really wasn't. I was not sure that I wanted them, and I'm so happy that I did.